Hello there, I'm Kylo, and welcome back to Satisfactory. I hope you're having an absolutely blessed morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever it may be for you. Today, we're going to be expanding our blueprint arsenal to help us finish some projects and prepare for some upcoming ones. So sit back, grab a coffee, and let's make some blueprints. Okay, so the first blueprint that we should go over is the highway support blueprint. We've had a floating highway for way too long, so we finally got around to designing a support. And of course, this is going to be modular, like we always do, but I want to show you the individual pieces here, and then we'll go look at them in action. So this piece right here, this ramp right in front of us, is going to attach underneath the road and gonna slope down on the sides. And this is the start of the support going down. We have a nice little railing, and I wanted to make sure I added some lighting to it with these panels here. And then these two pieces are just extensions. The first one here is to extend further down to make sure we hit the ground in some cases, because we will be a little too high or just 4 foundations from the ramp. And then this little piece just merges underneath, and you'll see what I mean when we go put them in action, but this will merge between each side of the supports. So let's go take a look at these on the highway. We haven't put them everywhere, but we do have enough to kind of get an idea of what it'll look like. Okay, so we are over here by the aluminum plant and kind of where our fuel plant is, down on the west coast, and this is kind of how the supports will look. And now I've altered them for every other support for the rail system. I've done a support for the whole highway. And we may add in some extra ones to make it every single support, but it might be a little too crowded. I haven't tested that yet, so that'll be maybe a choice we'll do later. But for now, we're just gonna stick with the every other support kind of distance and spacing. Now, if I hop into the blueprint dismantle, you can kind of see how these blueprints snap to each other. And they actually do snap pretty well, which allows it for some pretty smooth building. So we initially just place this support right here on the last foundation of the road. And because we do that, we have a 2 foundation gap, which is what this this gap blueprint is for. It kind of fills that void and makes it more uniform, as you can see on the other one in the distance here. We're able to just snap the support to ground blueprint right here, and then when it doesn't reach kind of as far down as we want, we can add in more straight line support. So right here we have a 2 foundation length, or 8 meters tall, but we also have access to a 3 if we would like, and we can make this go down as far as we want that way. And I actually do think that the support looks the best when it's a little higher off the ground, so we actually get a lot of this, because in some of the areas when we get really close to the ground, we kind of just end up clipping right about here into the terrain. But over time, we'll be able to finish this more and more. But this is one of those projects I like to be able to go back to whenever I'm stumped on something else, considering we are all set up and we already know what we're doing. We don't have to actually think about it, we just have to do it. So I'm kind of saving that for moments when I'm a little bit stumped on another build. The next blueprint that I want to look at is actually going to be a universal blueprint that we'll use for train stations. Now, most of our train stations will be raised off of the ground a decent amount, just due to wanting to be at the same level as our highway. So that does leave a large amount of foundation room that we have to fill. So I decided that a blueprint would be very useful there. And so this is a very basic design that I think will actually go well with our highway support. They have the, I think, same exact color, and they're going to be right next to each other because the train stations are always going to connect to the highway for the most part, and I think they'll complement each other pretty well. Now, this isn't one blueprint, obviously. As you can see, this is a 3x2, but they stack really well, and it's a very simple design, so it kind of works with any train station size. We can clip them into each other slightly and remove from each blueprint if we need to just get the spacing right, but this is going to be the design for all the train station foundation parts. Above the foundation, we might have slightly different designs, but I at least wanted to get the foundations all set up. Okay, and the next major blueprint that I want to go over right now is truck stations. We've not had a truck station blueprint ever in the save, and we're definitely going to start using them a little bit more because I don't want to rely just on trains and drones. I think trucks are very underused, and in the right circumstances, they can be really awesome and fun to use. So I decided to make a truck station blueprint that we can snap down a line. So we have a double door here that will open to a truck. It'll fit in perfectly right here. It'll be able to drop off or pick up whatever goods it needs and drive out this way. We have some basic features on here with X's on the exit to make sure, to notify any trucks not to come in this way. And then we also have the green arrows pointing on the entrance. I'm not set on the color beams that we have here. We can always change those for whichever build we need, but I think this is a pretty good start. The logistics are all hidden within the blueprints, and these will be able to go directly up into a logistic floor above. This was specifically designed for our material factory, which has the train stations right above it, but I think they'll be applicable in many scenarios. Now, this design is not final, but it is a pretty good start, I think, and it should serve us pretty well. There's a couple little updates to the overall save that are not related to blueprints that I just wanted to include, and that is that we are now producing crystal oscillators at the material factory, using up some of this extra space from the production lines that we have. We're only making, I think, 2 per minute, but that's plenty for storage for now. And I'm also entertaining the idea of making basic electronic components here, like circuit boards, computers, AI limiters, and quick wire. If we have the space for it, then we probably will do that here. And then the only other thing that we're not producing that we should be is modular frames. So those items are still on the fence of whether they get put in their own factory or this one, but we'll probably figure it out soon. And really quick, I wanted to mention, if you guys are enjoying some of these videos, make sure to subscribe. It helps me out more than you know. But that's enough of that. Let's get back to blueprints. Okay, and the next set of blueprints that we decided to make were refinery blueprints for a future build where we will be refining a ton of iron in one place. So far, all of the other refinery blueprints are very similar, and I wanted to do something definitely different here. So instead of clipping pillars into the exact face and making it all smooth, I decided to do a slightly different thing here and have it slightly more exposed with a second level on top. Now, still very similarly, I am keeping power connections on the back wall, so we have no wires at all, but I think this is a much different texture than normal, and it will be pretty fun to build with something different. I've also experimented with recessed lighting a little bit. It's not by a whole lot, but it is slightly different. And for those of you curious, this is what it would look like with lumen on, although we're not in an enclosed area, so it is slightly different than what it would be in a factory. But I think it gives a really cool mood lighting for a refinery. The next set of blueprints are kind of designed together, and this is designed for a production line. So we have a left start and a right end, or right start and left end, with middle straights. So we can make this blueprint go as long as we wanted. These blueprints are designed for a specific factory, although they will be applicable in other areas with slight changes. These assemblers in particular are going to be for a turbo fuel plant, because we definitely need more power to be able to turn on these builds that we're going to be making. For this specific build, I decided to add some extra depth on the roof in form of extra beams, and we're using just flat roofs because they have a different texture on the bottom, which is kind of fun to use. And we have a small little cavity room up here. Now this is for power cables, so we can easily hide power cables this way. This gives us a flat ceiling to be able to snap a secondary blueprint on top of this one. So if we go into blueprint mode, we can snap directly above where it is, and we can stack these as high as we wanted. So if in the case that we wanted to design a factory that produced a ton of an item, we can stack it super high vertically, which I think would be a lot different than kind of taking up a lot of space horizontally. These blueprints also have logistics built into them, so we just have to connect each blueprint to each other with power and logistic belts. You guys might notice that there's this little gap, but with nudge, we can fix that. We just nudge it in once or twice, and it is perfectly aligned. And the next blueprint that we have is also for the turbo fuel plant. This is taking the same one that we are going to be using for an iron plant, but changing it slightly. I wanted to experiment with red on top here, along with a separate walkway, but overall it's still very similar, but we might end up making changes to either this one or the iron one before building. And this is one of the final blueprints we have made recently. It's a long hallway that will complement the colors of the turbo fuel factory, which will be orange, yellow, and red. We have a cool little yellow lighting behind these pillars, along with single bar lighting on the top of white and a warm orange right here. All these blueprints are designed to work together. We have a window on this side and nothing on this side. Now that's because the layout of the factory will be refineries on this side and the assemblers on this side. The refineries, we don't want to see the back of those, so we have that blocked off on the hallway here, but we might want to peer into the production of the assemblers on the right. I didn't lay these out properly, but the hallway would be right about here, so we'd be able to see a little bit into the production or behind the scenes of the factory right here. Making these blueprints didn't kind of mean that I have everything perfectly planned and it's just a 3-click factory, but it does do a lot of the work for us. And this is one of my favorite things about the current stages of blueprints, is that it forces you to think of the factory as a whole and how blueprints can snap with each other and make your building experience much smoother. Now, I'm not going to lie, I do think that there should be slight tweaks to the blueprint designer, but overall, I'm very happy with it. And I'm pretty happy with how these blueprints have been turning out. And I think they'll work a lot better when joined together. Standalone, they are not amazing yet. And real quick, I want to remind you guys that everything that you see in our Let's Play is live streamed on both YouTube and Twitch, so you can choose whichever platform you prefer. I'll make sure to have my Twitch linked in the description. Just be aware that Twitch chat is a little bit more active than YouTube, but I do read both. And I think that does it for this blueprint episode. Feel free to leave any feedback in the comments. I greatly appreciate it. And if you've enjoyed this video at all, please make sure to subscribe. It means the world to me. And until we meet again, peace.
I'm slick with words, tongue sharp, you left in thirds. You pitching verbs, I knock it out, I'm flipping birds. While smoking herbs, I'm blocking out what often hurts. I'm moving herds, it's me, my family, money merge.